Chapter 356. Thinking about it, we have been away from the capital for half a year. Returning to the capital again, there is a reluctance to part with the freedom and unrestrained, but there is also a deep longing for our loved ones. However, the time we have been away is not short. The feeling of returning home is also a pleasant one. Jingwen sat next to Li Hongyuan and said with a chuckle. Perhaps it was because, although most of the main road was in the water, the total amount of time spent in the carriage far exceeded that. Perhaps it was because of this that Jingwen's motion sickness symptoms actually lessened a lot. Now they were about to enter the capital, but it was only a slight discomfort. Perhaps it was because her mood was good, her spirit was also good. Li Hongyuan held Jingwen's hand and gently kneaded it. We will find another opportunity in the future. It's very difficult, isn't it? This time it can be considered a coincidence. As a Qin Wang or Jun Wang, under normal circumstances, they were not allowed to leave the capital without an imperial edict. If they were to leave the capital by imperial edict, it would usually be for official business. A certain person had no power or influence. Opportunities are always created by people. Just like this time when he started to plan this matter. His first goal was to take his wife out for a stroll. This time it took far more time than expected. There should be a lot of impeachment in the court, right? Moreover, there were so many things. The amount of rare treasures that were collected was quite a lot. Not to mention we still had to buy things along the way, big and small. Sometimes we had to transport entire ships. When we reached the capital, it would be at least a dozen carriages. It would be hard to not attract attention. So what? No matter how they jump, they will not hurt me in the end. Jingwen smiled faintly. That's right. According to the information they received when they were in Jiangnan, there was a period of time when Lu Qingdi was completely engrossed in the conversation. Even important memorials had never been read in such a serious manner. Unsurprisingly, he accused Jin Qinwang of playing around in Jiangnan, delaying his return, harboring ill intentions, wantonly amassing wealth, and shaking the foundation of the country. Each of these charges was heavier than the other. Unfortunately, they were all suppressed by Lu Qingdi. Jin Qinwang, whether it was the cheating case of the college examination or the corruption of the salt policy, they were all handled beautifully. The former won a lot of reputation for the court, the latter filled the national treasury. He restrained his temperament and did not act recklessly in Jiangnan. He just spent some time touring Jiangnan and did not delay official business. At the beginning, he allowed him to not delay official business and not cause trouble. What was with these impeachments today? Did they want him, the emperor, to go back on his words? Lu Qingdi might not be the kind of emperor who made arbitrary decisions, but he was also not a puppet emperor who was pinched in the palm of someone else's hand. In the end, he still held real power. When he was truly angry, the officials below could only tuck their tails between their legs. Especially when it was mentioned wantonly amassing wealth, Lu Qingdi's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Excluding the gold and silver ingots that were directly transported out of the treasury, the total amount of gold and silver ingots that entered the capital's national treasury was more than 20 million taels of silver. And the wealth that Jingwen obtained in the Jiangnan Mountains after conversion was more than 50 million taels of silver. It should be known that the annual tax revenue of the entire Jiangnan was only slightly more than 10 million taels of silver. The treasury, Jin Qinwang had reported to him, and Jingwen had reported to him. In other words, his son went to Jiangnan and plagiarized nearly 80 million taels of wealth. Where did this money come from? At least 99% of it was from stuffing his own pockets. At the beginning, when it was reported that it was more than 10 million taels, it made him furious. But now, he really wanted to disregard everything and behead the entire family of those officials. The local officials had close ties with the capital and went through relationships. He didn't know if these people were giving filial gifts to the princes. How could it be that it was only a mere 10 million taels? Each and every one of them now jumped out and said that Old Sixth and his wife were amassing wealth. Lu Qingdi couldn't wait to slap them to death. Lu Qingdi used various reasons to deal with people in the court. Many people were demoted, their salaries were deducted, and the princes who were conferred the title of prince when they reached adulthood all suffered. All of them restrained themselves again and again for fear of angering Lu Qingdi. And when Lu Qingdi saw that they were acting timidly, he couldn't help but be angry. It was simply a vicious cycle. When Li Hongyuan told these things to Jingwen gloated a little. Moreover, after they left the Pei family, they further compressed the Pei family. In order to survive, the Pei family basically gave up more than half of their heritage collection. Moreover, the price was so low that it made people unable to restrain their anger. Finally, the head of the Pei family fell ill and couldn't take it anymore. But even so, he secretly executed the descendants of the previous dynasty. In order to control them better, this branch could be said to be a single descendant, so it was not difficult to deal with them. Li Hongyuan also stopped at this time. In addition, Li Hongyuan also sent people to clean up the remnants of the previous dynasty. Without a leader, coupled with the failure to kill Li Hongyuan in the Quanzhou prefecture and the shock of Li Hongyuan's bloody methods, they basically became a sheet of loose sand. The main thing was that some people were killed, and the rest were not to be feared. These things were more or less dealt with, and basically became a more regular daily. When there was a special situation, special treatment would be done. After that, it was basically sightseeing. And from one day, Jingwan started to buy all kinds of things. After all, Jiangnan was rich and there were definitely many good things. It was already the beginning of October when they returned to the capital. When they left the capital, it was the beginning of April and it was spring. When they returned, it was winter. When they left, it was naturally a grand occasion. Of course, the people who came back were all present. Undoubtedly, all the officials of Quanzhou were already in place. None of the temporary officials stayed behind. After being busy outside for so long, returning to the capital should have been a joyous occasion. Unfortunately, most of them were not in good spirits. They were even more dispirited than Jingwan, who had motion sickness. Previously, Li Hongyuan had already changed into the imperial robes of a prince, but Jingwan did not wear the imperial robes. At the city gate, several adult princes and the sickly fifth prince welcomed their brother back. Li Hongyuan even gave them face. He alighted from the carriage and exchanged a few words with them. And naturally, they brought Lu Chengdi's verbal order, asking him to go back to the prince's mansion to recuperate. It would not be too late to go to the palace tomorrow. Li Hongyuan had never been polite to Lu Chengdi. He would not show any resistance and go to the palace in a travel-worn state. Therefore he swung his sleeves, turned around, got into the carriage, and left these brothers behind. As for these princes, they could only twitch the corners of their mouths and endure it. This person's bad temper had not changed at all. He was arrogant and did not take these brothers seriously. However, their main target was not them, but the accompanying officials. Although they kept exchanging letters, in fact, they could not know too much from these letters. Naturally, they had to ask in detail. Of course, these officials were not as lucky as Li Hongyuan. They had to go to the palace to meet the emperor and report their trip. With so many people, it would take a lot of time for Lu Qingdi to ask them one by one. But they did not dare to go to the palace in batches. Even if it was not their turn today, they had to go to the palace and wait obediently. This was not a mental tiredness, but a physical tiredness. As for Jin Qin Wang Fu, because they had already received the news, the steward of the Fu had long been waiting at the gate. A dark mass of people knelt to welcome them. Naturally, no one paid attention to them. Returning to the main courtyard, Jingwen suddenly felt that her bones had softened. She sat down and leaned against the big pillow, not wanting to move. The servant girls were busy, but it was something that they were used to doing. Because only Gong Mama and 2 senior servant girls were left to serve Jingwen, the others had returned to the capital first. At this moment, everything was in order, as if the masters of this Fu had never left for a moment. The back of Li Hongyuan's hand gently brushed Jingwan's cheek, with a bit of pity. Wan, go soak in a hot bath and relax. Then let Gong Mama help you loosen your bones. Rest well today, I reckon that there will be a lot of work tomorrow. Jingwan nodded her head. Wasn't that right? When she went to Jiangnan together, it could be considered as sneaking away. Before leaving, she had married off all of her husband's personal servant girls. These were all crimes. The number of people who wanted to settle accounts with her was not a small number. As the genuine mother-in-law, noble consort Su, she needed to be 120% alert. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654002. HTML chapter error. Click here to report. No registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bikugo mobile reading website. Bicken. Chapter 357. Jingwon held Li Hongyuan's hand and rubbed it coquettishly. She smiled faintly and said, "Noble consort Su is a loving mother and a good mother-in-law. How could she make things difficult for me?" Yes, she's a good mother-in-law. The other brothers have been in deep trouble recently, and third imperial brother is no exception. Although the imperial noble consort is still favored, she is already old. Imperial father is staying at her place, and she has to find someone else to serve her. She doesn't even have a chance to sway him. Right now is the critical period of fighting for the throne. In order to balance things out, imperial father is suppressing noble consort Su. At this time she doesn't dare to say anything. Each and every one of them wants this prince to divert imperial father's attention. Moreover, I have evidence of those good brothers receiving many benefits from Jiangnan. As long as you're smart, you should be tactful. I'm going to visit imperial father tomorrow, and it won't be a short time. If noble consort Su deliberately makes things difficult for you, you might as well tell her a little. Third imperial brother is her lifeblood. No matter how angry she is, she can only be pleasant to you. Noble consort Su originally took good care of herself, and later she received the skincare products from Jingwon. The effects were excellent, and her charm and bearing were outstanding. When it came to Li Hongyuan cough, there was no need to talk about it. Threatening her like this. So what if I threaten her? To be honest, Li Hongyuan was becoming more and more impatient with superficial efforts. She is your adoptive mother. You two have a deep relationship. I am your wife. Under normal circumstances, the status of a wife can't surpass that of a mother. If she feels that she has been bullied by you, just come and complain to me. Jingwon laughed. If noble consort Su really went to find this guy, she would probably be so angry that she would vomit blood. However, she couldn't show it. Because her self-restraint was too good, her son naturally didn't notice. Then this person probably didn't realize that he had done something wrong at all. Then he would just clap his hands and leave indifferently. Whether or not to threaten her, we'll talk about it when the time comes. However, you still have to be filial when necessary. Give her some immortality pills. In any case, she had Gong Jiu make some later. Wan, do as you see fit. Okay, I understand. Go take a bath. Why don't I go with Wan? Li Hongyuan lowered his voice, sounding slightly bewitching. Jingwon's resistance to beauty could be said to be growing rapidly. However, when faced with someone's deliberate seduction, she couldn't help but feel her heart ripple. Jingwon turned her head and slapped Li Hongyuan on the back of his hand. Go by yourself. Li Hongyuan chuckled and deliberately pinched Jingwon's face. Then he left before Jingwon flew into a rage out of humiliation. Jingwon looked at his back and was too lazy to move. She suddenly smiled and moved her body. She was back. Although she might be restricted, it was already pretty good to be able to go out for half a year. With such a background, many people would not have the chance to go out in their entire lives. Those people would probably go from one backyard to another and end their lives like this. As for her, it was a piece of cake for her to go to the farm from time to time for 10 days or half a month. That's right. In Jingwon's view, it was basically impossible to travel far away from the capital. Li Hongyuan basically didn't hide the current situation in the imperial court from her. According to him, perhaps in a few years, this battle for the throne would be over. After slowly learning about Li Hongyuan's trump card, Jingwan didn't think that he would lose, unless he didn't want that position. However, Jingwan had never thought of this possibility. At that time, when he ascended to that position, it would be even more impossible for him to leave the capital for sightseeing. It was a bit regretful, but she was willing to give up that little bit of freedom for the friendship between the two of them. Of course, if Li Hongyuan had a change of heart, she would be forcibly deprived of her freedom. However, Jingwan wouldn't think about this possibility now, let alone be sentimental about gains and losses. "Princess, the water is ready." Qingzhu came out of the clean room. Jingwan got up. Her husband was right. It was good to relax. In the clean room, other than Nanny Gong, there was also Daybreak. Speaking of which, in the past few months, Daybreak was almost the same as the other maidservants. She did things with ease and didn't seem to have any discomfort. Compared to the beginning, her personality was much more lively and she smiled from the bottom of her heart more often. In short, she seemed to be less fairy and more human. She got along better with everyone. However, Daybreak was a talented woman. She didn't have a problem with the things a talented woman should have. It was also not a problem for her to learn some rules when serving others. But in the aspect of needlework, she was a bit lacking. Moreover, in a place of prostitution, she probably didn't have the time to train girls in needlework. Jingwan's 6 senior maidservants all knew how to needlework. It was just a matter of whether they were good or bad at it. However, even the worst Hei Mei was 30% proficient in needlework. When Daybreak started to learn needlework, her delicate hands suffered and her fingers were pricked countless times. Other people felt the pain when they saw it. Jingwan told her to stop learning, but Daybreak's stubbornness flared up. She stubbornly insisted on learning needlework. Until now, she had made some progress and it was no longer pricking her hands. "Daybreak, hum a song for me." Jingwan leaned on the edge of the tub and said. Daybreak chuckled. Yes. Daybreak naturally wanted to give up on her previous life. However, she didn't mind singing, playing the zither, and dancing with Jingwan at all. Daybreak's voice was very pleasant to listen to. Moreover, she could change her voice. Thus, she could sing many different songs with different flavors. Daybreak's voice was not loud at this time. It was gentle and soothing to listen to. It made people feel more relaxed. After the bath, Nanny Gong did some maintenance for Jingwan. Her bones were loose all over her body. Then she fell asleep just like that. Nanny Gong was about to carry Jingwan out when Li Hongyuan happened to lift the curtain and come in. They hurriedly bowed. Under normal circumstances they would be ignored, and this time was no exception. Li Hongyuan carried Jingwan out and directly placed her on the bed. He lay down beside her and was probably preparing to take a nap. After all, it was not night time. This nap would only last for 2 hours. Jingwan came back to her senses. Li Hongyuan wanted to continue to stick to Jingwan. He hadn't returned to the capital for a long time and had a lot of things to do. Therefore, he was not polite and asked to leave. Jingwan's main task was to tidy up the things she bought later. As for the things she received, except for a very small portion that was intercepted by Li Hongyuan, Jingwan was too lazy to ask about the rest. Li Hongyuan had seen and used too many good things in his life. There were very few things that could catch his eye. Jingwan just took a look at the list. She didn't know if she didn't see it. When she saw it, she was really shocked. It seemed that she had bought too many things. Jingwan was a little speechless. However, as the saying goes, one's own sin must be dealt with properly. The original purpose of buying these things was to give them away. Naturally, they were all high-quality things. If she bought too many things, she would give more when she gave them away. Well, it was settled. As for whether she would attract all kinds of attention because of giving away too many things in the end, it had nothing to do with her. Now the most important thing was to send the things to the palace tomorrow. None of the things in the main palace could be missing. Moreover, they had to be carefully selected. However, this was not a difficult thing. As for the things to be sent to the other families, they could prepare them after returning from the palace. What Li Hongyuan needed to prepare was naturally to make things difficult for Lu Qingdi again. To be honest, according to Li Hongyuan's ability to cheat Laozi, if he did it 2 more times, Lu Qingdi's lifespan would definitely be shortened. In fact, at this moment, Lu Qingdi's heart could not be any more stifled. And those officials, whether they were reporting work or listening at the side, their legs were soft and their hearts were trembling. There was no other reason. It was because there were many things that they did not know. Lu Qingdi knew more than them. Lu Qingdi smashed the teacup, the booklet, the inkstone, and almost even the imperial jade seal. Among the accompanying officials, except for those officials who were not qualified to stand in front of Lu Qingdi, only Yu Zhongqing and Li Suyen were calm. They were dressed in official robes and carried a sword at their waist. They both thought of Jin Qinhuang. These people, before they even entered Zhongnan, they were all sent out by Jin Qinhuang. Don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but none of these people were clean. Basically, they were all carrying missions. As a matter of fact, many of them were caught by the black-robed guards. Therefore, for this mission, not to mention merit, it would be good if they were not demoted by 3 ranks and had their salary deducted for 3 years. The whole process took less time than expected. Because the more it went on, the more impatient Lu Qingdi became. In the end, he directly told them to scram back to write the booklet. If they could not hand it in tomorrow, he would make them peel off a layer of skin. The next day, Li Hongyuan and Jingwan entered the palace. Li Hongyuan gave lousy face and wore the imperial robe of a Qinhuang. After all, it was an official mission, the clothes should be more formal. Although Jingwan was not dressed as a Qinhuang Fei, it was still a splendid attire. She wore a full set of red gemstones. The main color of her clothes was red. Her whole person looked as delicate and beautiful as fire. It made her complexion look even more tender and tender. Her complexion looked even better. This appearance was absolutely eye-catching for the harem that entered the same abyss of suffering. According to the rules, Jingwan first went to pay her respects to the empress and sent a carefully selected gift. Not to mention other things, for women in the harem who did not need to give birth to children, the ageless pill was definitely something that could not be refused. Of course, Jingwan generously sent the prescription up. It was clearly stated above. If the empress was not at ease with the things she sent, she would directly let someone check the prescription. The empress smiled and praised her. The husband and wife had put in a lot of effort and so on. Then she used the excuse that Gui Fei Su was waiting for her to let her leave. Jingwan was not surprised by the empress's attitude. After all, she was a mortal enemy of Gui Fei Su and had no direct conflict with Jin Qinhuang. She had no reason to make things difficult for Jingwan. Jingwan did not know that when the empress saw her, she once again regretted that she could not become her daughter-in-law. It should be known that Kong Qinhuang's stepfii had not been found yet. Every girl that the empress was interested in would always find all kinds of excuses to refuse. Since Lu Qingdi did not care about this matter, the empress could only stare helplessly. There were basically no suitable girls that supported Kong Qinhuang. Jingwan went to Gui Fei Su's place. As expected, Gui Fei Su's heart, liver and lungs hurt from the very good scent that she exuded from head to toe. https://www.bikin.com/11/11807/6654004. HTML chapter error. Click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bikin.com. Bikugo mobile reading website Bikin. Chapter 358. Jingwan smiled. Daughter-in-law greets imperial mother. Many blessings to imperial mother. As the saying goes, one should not slap a smiling face. Moreover, she had not returned for a long time, so she should be happy. No matter how upset she was, plus the new and old hatred, she could not show it at this moment, unless Imperial concubine Su wanted to tear up the perfect image she had maintained for 20 to 30 years. Therefore Imperial concubine Su smiled, but the corners of her eyes unconsciously raised. Imperial concubine Su's eyes were special. When she raised the corners of her eyes, there was an indescribable sense of sharpness. When she was young, she was quite flamboyant and often showed the corners of her eyes. Later, it gradually weakened, making her temperament soften, but it did not mean that her heart also softened. Occasionally, when she lost control of her emotions or deliberately did something, that feeling might be very obvious. No need for formalities. Imperial concubine Su waved her hand perfunctorily. Jingwan got up and turned to Princess Rue. "Third sister-in-law, nice to meet you." Princess Rue returned the greeting unhurriedly. "Sixth sister-in-law, you are finally back. Imperial mother has been talking about you every day. Wang Yi also misses Mufei every day." Opening one's mouth was something that required a bit of effort. Who didn't know how to say good things? "Don't say such nonsense. It's been half a year. It's good that you are back. Speaking of which, Yuna really dotes on his wife. He probably can't bear to refuse you many things. But as a wife, if you can get the love of your husband, you should be more considerate and think of him. Sixth sister-in-law, don't you think so?" Imperial concubine Su's smile did not change, like an elder who carefully taught a child. Jingwan's eyes flashed slightly. Was she saying that she was arrogant because of the love, did not know when to stop? More seriously, violated the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. Jingwan thought it was quite funny. To put it bluntly, Imperial concubine Su was only a concubine in the imperial family. In other families, there was only one proper mother-in-law. But after all, their identities were different. Well, she just listened. As for whether she understood or not, whether she really didn't understand or not, whether she really understood or not, of course only she herself knew. Jingwan's smile was also inconvenient, and there was even a bit of naivety in it. Mufei is right. Wang Yi loves this concubine, so this concubine will naturally support Wang Yi in everything. It was your son who wanted to take me to Jiangnan. It was your son who made me accept that huge bribe. I didn't even care about my own reputation. Who else could be more obedient than me? She wasn't in a good mood to begin with. Naturally, it was easier for her to be annoyed. She was immediately annoyed by Jingwan. She didn't think that Jingwan didn't understand. She was obviously pretending to be dumb. How could she not be angry? However, she couldn't find any fault with her answer. Noble consort Su was angry. Since she couldn't understand her in a roundabout way, she would be direct. She sighed softly and said, "Yunter is going to Jiangnan on official business this time, and it's a very important matter. Sixth daughter-in-law, even if you don't know the importance of it, you should be aware. Not to mention other things, when a man goes out, there's no reason for a woman to follow him. Even if Yuan asked you to go, you should dissuade him." Jingwan frowned. "Mufei is saying that you want this daughter-in-law to disobey Wang Yi? How can that be?" The last few words were quite righteous. Noble consort Su almost vomited blood. She picked up the teacup to hide her anger. After calming down, she continued, "It's not disobedience. It's reasonable and appropriate advice. As long as it's correct, it's fine to say a few words. Imperial Mother is right. However, you were the one who raised His Highness. You know best what kind of person he is. Do you think that when he makes a decision, he will listen to my advice?" Jingwan's expression and tone revealed a little helplessness. Noble consort Su choked again. This time, it was because she thought of Li Hongyuan's bad temper. She rubbed her aching temples. Yu's temper isn't good. As the person who sleeps beside him and as his virtuous wife, you should always advise him. Jingwan's face showed a bit of confusion. She mumbled, "Mufei, you raised him for more than 20 years. Wang Ye's current temperament. It's all because of you. Moreover, it's fine to say a few words occasionally, but at this time, Don't you usually say that you're married? Her voice was a bit weak. What did she mean? Was she accusing her of not teaching her son well? Noble consort Su looked at Jingwen. She couldn't hide the unkindness in her eyes. Bear with it some more, slowly, slowly. Noble consort Su felt that Jingwen was deliberately beating around the bush with her. There seemed to be contradictions between the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. How to deal with it, she naturally had to find a balance. But if she really wanted to argue, she couldn't. If she continued, this Luosher would definitely continue to talk nonsense with her. She suddenly found that this old 6th daughter-in-law was much more difficult to deal with an old 3rd daughter-in-law. But now, the emperor paid more attention to the Minister of Personnel Affairs. She had to consider her attitude towards Luosher. Not to mention, she also had to consider Yuan-er. Yuan-er seemed to have some feelings for this woman. In short, if you encounter this kind of thing in the future, don't go with him. Next time. Wang Yi will have a chance to leave the capital next time. Jingwen was a bit confused and a bit sad. This time, noble consort Su was choked speechless. Jin Qinhuang's situation was known by the whole capital. Princess Rui, who acted as a background on the side, didn't change her expression, but she couldn't help but be speechless in her heart. This 6th sister-in-law was too powerful. Her mother was indeed a kind mother-in-law, but when she faced her, she was very frightened. This 6th sister-in-law dared to play dumb and choked her until she couldn't speak, but she couldn't lose her temper. You've been in Jiangnan for so long. Tell Ben Gong, what have you encountered? Noble consort Su stiffly changed the topic. It's hard to say. We've obtained a lot of good things. Some of them were prepared for Mu Fei, and some were personally picked by Wang Yi. Jingwen turned around and had people send the things in. It wasn't much, but each of them were treasures. The ageless pill was still the highlight. Noble consort Su really showed a relatively sincere smile. Yuan-er is considerate. You're also a filial child. Jingwen humbly said a few words. At this time she appeared graceful. Just standing there she felt exceptionally calm. The change before and after was obvious, but Jingwen didn't hide it at all. Noble consort Su didn't want to bother about this anymore, but she also put down the ageless pill. Her expression also faded a lot. After all, as far as she knew, this daughter-in-law had received a lot of good things in Jiangnan. Perhaps the things that were given to her were all good, but definitely not one of them came from those things. Her face became serious. Lao Lu daughter-in-law, Ben Gong heard that you wantonly accepted bribes in Jiangnan. This matter has been abuzz both inside and outside the court. Is this true? Jingwen's expression didn't change. It's true. Ready-made gold and silver plus gold and silver notes, as well as all kinds of rare treasures. Added together, it's several tens of millions of taels. Her tone was light, and there was even a faint smile. Noble consort Su was shocked by this amount and immediately smashed her cup. You have big guts. You actually dared to mislead Yuan like this. Jingwen seemed to have known this would happen and promptly retreated. Only the hem of her clothes was splashed with water. She looked at noble consort Su and calmly said, Imperial Mother, did you misunderstand something? It's true that this daughter-in-law accepted things, but this matter was also tacitly approved by Imperial Father. Everything was listed and presented to Imperial Father early on. After these things are sorted out, they'll all be put into the national treasury. Noble consort Su's half-real anger seemed to have been doused with a bucket of ice water. She couldn't help but shiver. She was an intelligent person. With just a little thought, she was able to figure out most of the powerful relationships within. Then she thought back to the time when the courtiers, Shen Yuner and her husband, were at their fiercest. The emperor's attitude was truly strange. He was so biased that he didn't care about the interests of the entire country. So this was the reason. Even now Tian'er couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. So it was Imperial Mother who misunderstood you. Tell me what exactly is going on here. Jingwen stared at noble consort Su for a moment before she slowly opened her mouth. This daughter-in-law had an accident. Imperial mother should be more concerned about prince's safety. After all, Imperial mother didn't even say a word about the assassination attempts that happened time and time again. Noble consort Su paused. When she saw Jingwan's faint gaze, she felt her hair stand on end, as if she had been completely seen through. At that time it was because https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654019. HTML. Click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com mobile edition. Chapter 359. Because after all, His Highness was unharmed. After a long time, Mother forgot about it. Jingwan smiled faintly and found an excuse for noble consort Su. When noble consort Su heard that Li Hongyuan was assassinated, wasn't she worried at all? Definitely not. It was said that noble consort Su treated Li Hongyuan sincerely. Under normal circumstances, when Li Hongyuan had a conflict with her biological son, noble consort Su would have her biological son avoid it. However, there was a big premise, and that was that the conflict was only small and did not involve the fight for the throne. Did Li Hongyuan plan the fight for the throne? Not on the surface, as far as noble consort Su knew. Therefore, when she learned that Li Hongyuan had an accident, not only was Lu Chengdi furious, but noble consort Su also didn't sleep well for several days and looked particularly haggard. After she learned that Li Hongyuan was safe, it wasn't that she didn't have the thought of directly sending him back to the capital. However, this was a national matter, and she couldn't do as she pleased. However, perhaps it had been a long time, so she had let go of her worries. Now there were more important things. After all, it was related to her son. She asked, she would definitely ask. According to Imperial Consort Su's meticulous nature, even if she forgot now, she would ask about it sooner or later after she sorted things out one by one. She might even ask about it one by one. However, now that Jingwan had exposed it, the nature of the matter was completely different. Regardless of whether Jingwan was really helping her out or pretending, in short, Jingwan was accusing her of hypocrisy in noble consort Su's ears. How could she not be angry? One had to know that the struggle between the various parties was getting more and more intense. The few princes at the back were becoming more and more familiar with the affairs of the imperial court, and they were constantly breeding ambition, so one had to be on guard against them. As for the arch-enemies, because the emperor wanted balance, he couldn't suppress them no matter what. If they caught a trace of blood, they would immediately bite down and not let go. Even if this title was not confirmed, it would most likely affect her perfect image in the emperor's heart. It had been more than 20 years. The women in the imperial harem could not compare to a dead person. The relationship between her and her adopted son could not be any worse. In the Jiangnan matter, none of the accompanying officials knew the inside story. Those who knew the inside story either couldn't see it in advance or didn't dare to easily contact and inquire about it because that would touch the emperor's bottom line. They couldn't bear the consequences. Now, only this daughter-in-law knew a little about the situation. Noble consort Su knew very well that she wouldn't be able to see Li Hongyuan so soon. Once she saw him, there would be no need to ask him in detail. She wanted to be one step ahead just to make arrangements one step ahead of the others. Thus, the real reason why Imperial Consort Su was looking for trouble was because she wanted to suppress Jingwan and get what she wanted from her more easily. However, this daughter-in-law was not afraid of her at all. She was even targeting her with hidden needles. Noble consort Su was furious. She forced herself to calm down and then realized that something was wrong. Under normal circumstances, when the mother and son had a good relationship, as long as the daughter-in-law wanted to live a good life, she would curry favor with the mother-in-law. In the imperial harem, not to mention the imperial harem who didn't have any status or favor, Someone with a noble status like her should be respectfully flattered and carefully served, just like the third daughter-in-law, Madame Lu. How could this Madame Luo be so daring? The daughter-in-law's attitude towards the mother-in-law often depended on the person between them. Was there a problem between them? Or was this Yuaner's true attitude towards her? The former. This daughter-in-law's complexion was excellent and cheerful. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't seem like there was a problem. The latter. It seemed even more impossible. Even if there was a problem in Jiangnan, it shouldn't affect the relationship between mother and son. Noble consort Su unconsciously frowned and maintained it for a moment. When she glanced at Jingwen, she realized that she had exposed some of her emotions and restrained her expression. Sixth sister-in-law, you must have misunderstood. Mother didn't forget or don't care about sixth brother. Sixth brother is a prince and will naturally be blessed by heaven. Moreover, sixth sister-in-law, you should know that sixth brother must be a good person. Mother's care for sixth brother is in her heart, not in her mouth. Consort Lu said with a smile. Third sister-in-law, you're right. Who doesn't know that mother is the best mother? She treats adopted children as her own and treats them better than her own children. Jingwan chuckled. There was no doubt that noble consort Su was stabbed again. She almost couldn't keep the expression on her face. However, Jingwan was just telling the truth. If she denied her, wouldn't it be the same as denying herself? However, some words, even if they were the same, would have a completely different meaning in different people in different contexts. For example, now, no matter how one listened to it, it sounded like sarcasm. Consort Lu's face was a little dark. She wanted to help noble consort Su out of trouble, but this was a thankless effort. Since it's dangerous, you should have come back earlier. Why did you stay for so long? Noble consort Su said lightly. Mother, please don't blame me. Prince said that I'm afraid that I won't have a chance to leave the capital in the future. So I take this opportunity to see more and walk around, lest I have regrets in my life. I think father will understand. Would she be inconsiderate if she continued to talk about it? Jingwan looked at noble consort Su's increasingly uncontrollable expression. Some people just like to think too much. Their imagination would fill in the blanks, and they would be the one who felt frustrated. His Majesty loves Yuan the most. If he really wants to go out for a walk, His Majesty will allow it. Imperial father's favoritism is not a reason for us, the younger generation, to act recklessly. Your Highness may be a little casual, but you still know the severity of things. After all, these are the rules left by our ancestors. It's not good to break them just for fun. Old Sixth's wife is a sensible person. Noble consort Su looked as calm as before, but there was a strange look in her eyes. Was Luo Shi determined to go against her today? Let's not talk about this for now. You should tell this consort. Although His Majesty has tacitly approved of this large amount of wealth, it's said that a ruler's heart is hard to fathom. This consort has been by His Majesty's side for 30 years, so there's probably no one who understands His Majesty better than this consort. Also, you're all still young and haven't experienced much, so there are many things that you might not consider thoroughly. Tell this consort in detail, and this consort will analyze it with you. If there really is something wrong, then we'll have to make arrangements in advance. Jingwan sneered inwardly. Did they really think that she didn't know anything and was just trying to coax them? After talking for so long, the last 2 sentences were probably her true goal. Mother, you're making things difficult for this daughter-in-law. Prince only told me to accept the gifts because this daughter-in-law was nervous, so Prince told me that father had tacitly approved. As for the extra things, this son really doesn't know. This daughter-in-law is a woman of the inner compound, and naturally doesn't dare to ask too much about these national affairs. Also, this daughter-in-law is stupid, but unlike mother, I can't say a thing or two about the national affairs. Noble consort Su was so angry that she almost fainted. She actually said that the inner palace was involved in politics. In private, everyone had a tacit understanding of what they did, but if it was revealed and someone caught it, She wouldn't be able to bear the consequences of the imperial harem's involvement in politics. Lu Wangfei saw this and heard it in her heart, but she didn't want to open her mouth again. This sixth sister-in-law was really too fierce, and her courage was even more incredible. To avoid inviting trouble, it was best to keep silent. As for noble consort Su, it had to be said that in a place like the imperial palace, although her patience wasn't as good as Empress Sun's, it was still top-notch. Good, very good. If we don't talk about the national affairs, then let's talk about some private matters. Lao Lu's wife is right. These things really shouldn't be discussed by us. Let those men deal with it themselves. Noble consort Su picked up the tea that was brought back to her hand and took a sip. Why haven't you served the tea to Jean Qin Wang Fei? Tidy up the floor as well. After receiving the order, the aunts and palace maids who were waiting on the side didn't dare to be negligent. They did what they should do quickly. Thank you, Mu Fei. Jingwen sat down peacefully. Her sitting posture was natural and dignified, and she smiled at noble consort Su. If there was any trick, she would just take it. Noble consort Su's gaze fell on Jingwen's belly. In the past 6 months, you've been by Yuan'er's side. Is there any good news? In the context of the feudal dynasty, children were the big killing weapon. Jingwen lowered her head shyly, but her heart was cold. In this world, the person who was least qualified to talk about her husband's children was this high and mighty woman. Wang Yi said that this daughter-in-law is still young, so there's no need to worry about children. That's true. You can recuperate for 2 more years. However, Yuan'er is already 23. In 2 years he will be 25. Most people at this age have several children. Before you went to Jiangnan, you married off a few of Yuan'er's personal maidservants. There definitely won't be enough people to serve him. Why don't you bring a few back from me today? If you like them, you can give them face and let them be Yuan'er's bed warmer first. After they give birth to a child, it won't be too late to promote them to concubines. As for the children of concubines, you don't have to worry too much. They are just the children of a servant. They can't surpass your children in the future. Jingwen raised her head and smiled innocently. So, Mu Fei means that Prince Rui can never surpass Prince Kong. At this moment, no matter how well-mannered noble consort Su was, she couldn't help but change her expression. At that moment, she looked at Jingwen with poison in her eyes. Princess Lu also looked at her sideways. Her expression was also very unfriendly. Jingwen shrank her neck as if she was frightened. She said with grievance, "The children of a concubine can't surpass the children of the first wife. Isn't that what you mean, Mu Fei?" Her eyes were really tit for tat with noble consort Su. "How can you compare them?" Princess Lu said coldly. "Mu Fei means that I can give birth to children." She emphasized the last 3 words. "Sister-in-law, do you mean that the children of princes' concubines can surpass my children in the future?" "I just came back home yesterday, and I heard that the 2 concubines of Prince Rui are full. You have to work hard, Mu Fei," Jingwen said with a smile. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654023. HTML. Please click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bikugo mobile reading website. Bicken. Chapter 360. What's wrong with my third sister-in-law? Did I say something wrong? Jingwen continued to provoke her. Noble consort Su and Princess Lu didn't expect that Jingwen was so bold and dared to say anything. They could forgive her for hiding needles in the past, but now she had directly poked their bottom line. But under normal circumstances, there was nothing wrong with what she said. If they dared to argue with her, they would be the ones who would be embarrassed. The Empress would probably be the happiest one, and then she would offend all the other concubines who had sons. Therefore, noble consort Su didn't even dare to pretend to be sick and use filial piety to suppress Jingwan. Speaking of which, the biggest problem with Jingwan's words was that the royal family couldn't be judged based on common sense. Apart from this family, most of the other families, even if they were members of the royal family, would eventually be inherited by the first wife. However, in history, not many emperors were born of the first wife of the empress. However, this was also something that couldn't be ignored. In the historical dynasties, it was basically the rule of the ancestors to choose the legitimate son or the eldest son. Contradictions existed everywhere, and some were just tacitly accepted. Noble consort Su was a good mother-in-law and had never sent anyone to Prince Rui's backyard. Li Hongyuan was an adopted son, so he had to pay more attention to some things. Sometimes, even if he had good intentions, others would say that he had bad intentions. If he hadn't been angered by Jingwan, he wouldn't have made such a stupid move. Even if he had made a stupid move, he wouldn't have directly said that she wanted to warm Li Hongyuan's bed. Everyone knew that this kind of thing had to be tactful. The reason why she was so straightforward was that she had a knack for it. If she really said that she wanted to serve the couple, the person she sent might really be treated as an ordinary maid. How could she achieve her goal in this way? So she simply said it straightforwardly. Besides, Yu was 23 years old and didn't have any children, and his wife was young. If she sent someone over, they had been married for more than half a year, not 3 months, and no one could criticize her. Even so, Madame Luo still caught the loophole in her words, and it was something that ordinary people did not dare to mention. She directly put the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law into the pit. The two of them gritted their teeth in the pit, but she was happy and content at the edge of the pit. Imperial concubine Su had fought with the empress for 20 to 30 years. Although she had won and lost, she had never felt as sullen as she did today. She watched as the good mother-in-law's face cracked wider and wider. She almost couldn't hold it in anymore. Imperial concubine, esteemed princess consort, would prefer someone she is familiar with to serve her. This servant sees that esteemed princess consort has 7 maidservants by her side, so there should be quite a few of them. Moreover, they are all very beautiful. Rather than giving them to His Highness, it would be better for esteemed princess consort to choose 1 or 2 of them as her own. I think esteemed princess consort would be very willing. Even if she gives birth to a child, I believe esteemed princess consort would treat it as her own. An aunt beside imperial concubine Su said with a smile. Look at me, how can I be confused? Thank you for reminding me. Have you brought all these people into the palace today? Let them all come in and let me take a look. I know best what kind of girls Yuan likes. I can take a look at them. Imperial concubine Su smiled lovingly, as if she was sharing the worries and difficulties of her daughter-in-law. Princess Lu also smiled in an instant. That's right. It couldn't be better. I believe 6 sister-in-law will also be satisfied. In reality, it was the most disgusting thing for a female master to allow her personal maidservants to become concubines. This was especially so for a maidservant who was groomed as a confidant and would become her right-hand woman in the future. Noble consort Su had actually gotten someone to do a rough check on the situation of the people around Jingwan. And looking at it now, she was afraid that none of them were prepared for her son. Since they dared to go against her, why should she be polite? Imperial concubine Su didn't even ask for Jingwan's opinion. The imperial maid who waited on the side directly went out and said to the maidservants with a smile. Then, she let them into the hall almost without allowing them to say anything. The reason why they all came to the palace today was that they were going to give gifts to the concubines in the palace. It wasn't a lot, and it was something that could be easily obtained. Naturally, they couldn't pass through other people's hands. Therefore, they brought all 7 maidservants with them, which led to a disaster for no reason. These maidservants were well behaved. Although they were nervous, they basically didn't show it on their faces. They all knelt down to greet Princess Lu. Jingwan had always been generous to the people around her. As long as they didn't violate the rules and weren't specially prepared for her by Li Hongyuan, She would give them a lot of rewards. She raised them well and let them dress up beautifully. Moreover, their colors weren't bad. When they knelt on the ground, they were better than many women from official families. Imperial concubine Su saw it and said, "Sixth daughter-in-law is really extraordinarily nice to the people around her." That was even better. "Mother, you flatter me. They are loyal and considerate to me. Just some worldly things. I won't be stingy." Even though she knew what Imperial concubine Su was going to do, Jingwan didn't change her expression now. Although she did feel a little uncomfortable in her heart, it didn't affect her much. "I'd like to see how long you can keep calm. Raise your heads and let me have a good look." Hearing this, the 7 maidservants raised their heads, but they all obediently lowered their eyes. Princess Lu clicked her tongue and praised, "Mother, look at them. They are so beautiful. I like them no matter how I look at them. Sixth brother is really lucky with women. He has always been surrounded by beauties. However, they are raised by sixth sister-in-law. It shows that sixth sister-in-law is also a virtuous woman." Imperial concubine Su didn't say anything. She just glanced at Princess Lu. She didn't have any objection to Princess Lu teasing Jingwen. But when it involved her son, who was said to be greedy and lecherous, she naturally wouldn't be happy. Princess Lu's mouth stiffened. She looked away and didn't dare to look at Imperial concubine Su. Hearing this, the 7 maidservants who were kneeling changed their expressions slightly. No matter from the perspective of the princess, the prince, or even their own perspective, they didn't want to serve the prince in bed. They unconsciously clenched their fists, but didn't dare to say or do anything. They were worried that their princess would be confused. Imperial concubine Su's eyes wandered over the 7 maidservants. After a while she said, "The first one on the left and the second one on the right." Daybreak, on the way back to the capital, had changed her name to Furong. Under normal circumstances, people would probably think that she was Furong. Although not many people knew Daybreak's identity, there might be some people who knew Daybreak's reputation among the officials of Chuanzhou Mansion in Shannon Commandery. It was inevitable that people's imagination would run wild when they had the same name. Jingwan wasn't surprised that they would be chosen. Although Furong was born in the secular world and was now a maidservant, Aunt May spent a lot of effort to teach her. She taught her in the direction of a lady from a noble family. Now she still looked chaste and gentle. Coupled with her stunning appearance, women like her would be particularly popular in brothels. Needless to say, Hei Mei was extraordinarily beautiful and stunning. "Mother, you have a good taste. But I have never seen this beauty before. Did you take her in Jiangnan? It is said that Jiangnan is full of stunning beauties." "It is true. But I don't know whether sixth brother likes her or sixth sister-in-law is virtuous and specially found her for sixth brother." Princess Lu smiled. Jingwan glanced at her with a faint smile. She didn't say anything, but the meaning of idiot in her eyes was obvious. Princess Lu was angry, but she couldn't say anything more. Jingwan didn't say anything. If she said anything, she would be at a disadvantage. You too should do your best to serve your lord and princess in the future. Sixth daughter-in-law is still young now. If she has a child now, it will be harmful to her health. Can't be better after 2 years. You too should give birth to a child for the Lord as soon as possible. You are all capable people around sixth daughter-in-law. When you give birth to a child in the future, your princess should pay special attention to it. Don't let her down. When the child is born, no matter it is a boy or a girl, I will reward them handsomely. In the future, you and sixth daughter-in-law can go to the palace from time to time. Jingwan looked at Imperial concubine Su. It was so obvious that she was trying to sow discord. She also said that she would support them. She told them not to be afraid of their master, Jingwan. She even more or less wanted them to go against her. Jingwan didn't care much about these. What she cared about was that Imperial concubine Su kept saying Yu's child, and give birth to a child for her adopted son. Didn't she feel guilty at all when she said these words? In fact, Jingwan only saw sincerity from her. It seemed that she really wanted to hold her adopted son's child as soon as possible. It had nothing to do with Jingwon. Jingwon felt cold in her heart. How could this woman be so terrible? Old sixth daughter-in-law, tell me, am I right? Imperial concubine Su obviously didn't want Jingwon to be a bystander. It seemed that she wouldn't be satisfied if she didn't see her change her expression. Mother. Imperial concubine Nyongyong, please forgive this servant. This servant's body is lowly. Prince is a noble descendant. This servant admits that I don't have the qualifications to serve by his bedside. This servant has sullied Prince's body. Imperial concubine Nyongyong, please take back your words. Fu Rong suddenly spoke. It seemed that she was belittling herself, but there was an indescribable determination in her voice. Imperial concubine Su was stabbed by Jingwon until she couldn't speak. Now, even a lowly servant dared to disobey her. For a moment, Imperial concubine Su was unable to restrain her anger. Impudent. She smashed the cup in her hand again. The auntie beside noble consort Su also had a cold and stern expression on her face. She quickly stepped forward and slapped noble consort Su across the face. Lowly servant, how dare you? Her Highness has allowed you to serve His Highness. That's the good fortune you've accumulated over 8 lifetimes. How dare you refuse? If you don't want to live anymore, you can just say it. Fu Rong was slapped so hard that her body tilted. After that aunt finished speaking, she reached out to pull her hair. Jingwon's face turned cold the moment the auntie made a move. She stood up abruptly and grabbed the auntie when she reached out again. The auntie was indignant and instinctively wanted to resist. Jingwon coldly looked at her. What? Does aunt want to fight with this princess? That aunt was a little numb from Jingwon's gaze. She pulled her hand back from Jingwon's and bowed. This servant doesn't dare. It's just that this lowly servant doesn't know what's good for her. Relying on imperial concubine's favor, she's lawless. If we don't teach her a lesson now, who knows what will happen in the future? That's why this servant is so bold. This princess's people, even if they're wrong, this princess will teach them a lesson. You're just a lowly servant, yet you dare to say that you'll take this princess's place. This princess's people are lawless. Aunt, you must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. That aunt's face twitched. If she made a move, she naturally represented Imperial concubine Su. If Imperial concubine Su wanted to teach a lesson to her daughter-in-law's people, regardless of whether they were wrong or not, it was natural. However, Jingwon didn't follow the rules. Old sixth's daughter-in-law, don't lose your dignity. You're a dignified Imperial concubine. What kind of scandal is this? She was Imperial concubine Su's aunt. If Jingwon didn't personally make a move, no one would dare to make a move. How could Jingwon just watch her people get bullied? This daughter-in-law may not be proper, but Imperial concubine mother's manners are very good. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Imperial concubine Su's face darkened. Aunt, making a move is this concubine's idea. So the people around Imperial concubine mother have telepathy with you. You didn't say a single word, but they knew it clearly. This time, it wasn't just 1 or 2 mouths that were twitching. Telepathy. These people had to think about every word that was said. In their opinion, it would be strange if Jingwon didn't have any hidden meaning in her words. Could it be that this daughter-in-law said something wrong? Then why don't we change the word telepathy? Telepathy. Otherwise it would be, that's enough, old sixth's daughter-in-law. Don't talk nonsense. Imperial concubine Su wanted to strangle Jingwon to death. She used to think that this daughter-in-law was pretty good, especially since the Empress didn't succeed in scheming against her. Isn't that the case? That means that it was Imperial concubine mother's aunt who acted on her own. The people around Imperial concubine mother really have good manners. This time it was back to square one. Imperial concubine Su's chest heaved up and down. It was obvious that she was very angry. It's this servant's fault. Wang Fei Nyang Nyang, please forgive this servant. It's this lowly servant who doesn't know what's good for her. This servant also watched Wang Ye grow up. In a moment of anger, this servant was impulsive and did the wrong thing, asking Wang Fei Nyang Nyang to forgive. Seeing that the fire was burning on her own master, that aunt simply and decisively admitted her mistake. The excuse she found was also flawless. If you bicker with her, would it mean that you were dissatisfied with her protecting Jin Qin Wang? As Jin Qin Wang Fei, could Jingwan be dissatisfied with this? She couldn't. Fu Rong straightened up and suddenly took off the hairpin on her head. Facing her face, she swiped it from the corner of her eye to the position close to her chin. The wound was long and deep. Her action frightened everyone, including Imperial concubine Su. Fu Rong endured the pain. Blood dripped down and soaked her clothes in an instant, but her eyes were firm and clear. Imperial concubine Nyang Nyang, this servant's face is ugly. I'm afraid that this servant will dirty Wang Ye's eyes and cannot serve Wang Ye. Asking for forgiveness. Which woman wouldn't care about her face? The more beautiful it was, the more they cared. But now there was such a first-class beauty, a lowly servant, who refused to warm the bed of a Wang Ye and didn't hesitate to disfigure her face. Imperial concubine Su was so angry that she almost vomited blood. She definitely didn't look at the almanac today. After Imperial concubine Su restrained her shocked expression, her heart was filled with monstrous killing intent. Jingwan was also awakened by Fu Rong's words. In a flurry, she pressed the wound on her face with a handkerchief. Imperial concubine Su wanted to kill someone, but now she wanted to kill someone even more. Mama, hurry, hurry. Send Fu Rong back and immediately let Gong Jiu treat her. Such a long and deep wound, it was 100% impossible to recover. A good beauty was ruined just like that. You're also a fool. Jingwan looked at Fu Rong, hating iron for not becoming steel. If she didn't want to, then she didn't want to. When she returned to the Wangfu and closed the door, whether Li Hongyuan slept or not, it was none of her business. Fu Rong wanted to smile, but it pulled on her wound. Her smile seemed stiff and forced. Wang Ye and Wang Fei are deeply in love. This servant is envious and doesn't want anyone to destroy it. This person especially can't be this servant, even if it's just a little bit. Don't talk about it. Go back and heal first. If she had known this would be the result, Jingwan naturally wouldn't have brought them along. Otherwise, she would have endured Imperial concubine Su and wouldn't have specifically stabbed her. Fu Rong was a clever girl, but at this time she was stupid and stubborn. Mama Gong naturally listened to her master's words. She didn't even ask Imperial concubine Su for permission and just took them away. Jingwen only left Qing Ju and sent the others away. They had just stepped out of the door when a maid hurriedly came in from outside. Nyang Nyang, the two Wang Ye are here. The two were undoubtedly Jin Wang Ye and Rui Wang Ye. Imperial concubine Su frowned. How could they be so fast? Didn't even take half a quarter of an hour. Jingwen looked at Imperial concubine Su, then reached out and unhurriedly pulled off the hair ornament on her head and threw it on the ground. Then she also pulled at her collar. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654028. HTML chapter error. Click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bikugo mobile reading website. Bicken. Chapter 361. Without waiting for Imperial Consort Su to say anything, Li Hongyuan turned his gaze to Jing Wan. He saw that Jing Wan was covered in blood, her appearance was disheveled, and the vicious aura around her was surging wildly. However, she didn't have the slightest intention of restraining it. What happened? Even Emperor Lucheng couldn't touch his heart. In Imperial Consort Su's eyes, She had never seen Li Hongyuan like this before. Naturally, she felt incomparably horrified. Her heart was beating wildly, but she wasn't afraid. She just felt that something bad had happened. It wasn't something bad in the usual sense, but something that she couldn't bear. She wanted to say something, but her son didn't cooperate. This son obviously only had eyes for his wife. She inexplicably felt that her son had forgotten his mother once he had a wife. Imperial Consort Su's heart also faintly ached. Jingwen looked at Li Hongyuan and smiled. Why did Prince come so quickly? This prince just wants to know what's going on right now. Outside, he met Jingwen's servants who were walking in a hurry and were injured. Li Hongyuan didn't ask them at all and quickened his pace. He was worried that something might have happened to Jingwen. Although he knew that Imperial Consort Su couldn't do anything, this worry didn't disappear. Jingwen raised her hand. Don't worry, this isn't my blood. Luo Jingwen, focus. Li Hongyuan suddenly raised his voice. This was the first time Li Hongyuan called her by her full name. It could be seen that he was really angry at this moment and might lose control at any time. Li Hongyuan's anger was a bit beyond Jingwen's expectations. He should be able to see her current situation. She was clearly fine. Jingwen didn't know that the blood on her body had triggered a certain nerve in Li Hongyuan for no reason. That was a forbidden zone in the depths of Li Hongyuan's memory. As long as that day hadn't passed, as long as the dust hadn't settled, Li Hongyuan wouldn't be able to let it go. If he wasn't careful and touched it, he might explode. Who knew how many people would suffer from this explosion? It's nothing. It's just that an old servant fought with me. Jingwen created this scene just to complain. How could Li Hongyuan not see through such a clumsy and careless setup? After seeing through it with one glance, he completely believed in his wife and would still cooperate to the end. He would use practical actions to tell everyone that his wife's words were the truth in any situation. Black was also white and white was even more white. Li Hongyuan looked sharply at the ant who was a little further away from Jingwen. His gaze was like looking at a dead person. Someone come, drag this old servant out for this prince. Flog her 50 times. Flogging her 50 times was to give face to noble consort Su and sounded nicer. However, the king of hell had personally spoken. If the executioners dared to lightly flog the old servant, the flogging would fall on them later. As such, the old servant's chances of survival after 50 flogs were very slim. Jingwen couldn't help but clench her fists. She had taken a life just because of a sentence from her. She felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. However, after thinking about it, she relaxed again. This woman was noble consort Su's most trusted aide. It could be said that she was her right-hand woman. There was definitely more than one life that had been lost in her hands. More importantly, some of the things that noble consort Su had done to her husband were also done by this person. Speaking of which, her death really didn't deserve to be regretted. Jingwen hardened her heart. Noble consort Su's expression changed. Her voice couldn't help but raise and sound a little shrill. What's the matter, mother? Li Hongyuan was expressionless and cold. This was the first time her son had spoken to her like this. For a moment, noble consort Su was speechless. After a moment she said, "The matter isn't like what your wife said." "Oh. Then mother, why don't you let someone tell son what the truth is? Since you said that Madame Luo lied to son, I believe that the people around you absolutely wouldn't lie." These words didn't sound wrong, and they didn't feel any special emotions from Li Hongyuan. However, more than one person felt that her words were sarcastic. Noble consort Su felt even more uncomfortable. This son of hers had been close to her since he was young. Compared to others, including Lu Chengdi, she, as his mother, occupied the most important position in his heart. He was good to her and bad to others. Even if it was just a mother-son relationship, it would make people unconsciously feel superior. Imperial concubine Su would show off in front of Lu Chengdi from time to time, causing Lu Chengdi to be jealous. However, her mood was particularly relaxed. Obviously, this was the most obvious way to express it. Now, it was obvious that her daughter-in-law's position in her son's heart surpassed hers. Even if it wasn't for the time being, her son was faintly biased towards her daughter-in-law. It would be strange if she felt comfortable in her heart. Originally, she was provoked by Jingwan to the point of almost vomiting blood. Now, she didn't hide her cold expression at all. Li Hongyuan frowned and looked at noble consort Su with slight confusion. He didn't seem to understand why she was angry for no reason. "Mother, if you have something to say, just say it. You know that son hates guessing women's thoughts the most. If you act like this, son will mistakenly think that you don't miss son after returning from the capital half a year ago. Instead, you don't like son." Did noble consort Su have motherly affection for Li Hongyuan? Definitely. However, it was precisely because she had feelings that Li Hongyuan's words were like knives stabbing into noble consort Su's heart. Blood flowed out, and it was so painful that she almost suffocated. Jingwan didn't understand what was going on. Her husband was the true king of acting. He was the kind of person who deliberately stabbed people. The person who was stabbed couldn't blame him because he didn't know. Because he didn't mean it, so she had to pretend as if nothing had happened. Jingwan lit a candle for noble consort Su in her heart. However, Jingwan didn't sympathize with her at all. Noble consort Su reaped what she sowed. Otherwise, imperial consort Su wouldn't have invested in her feelings from the start. That way, even if they were mother and son in name, their relationship would be the same as the relationship between the other princes and imperial consort Su. It wouldn't matter if they were as indifferent as water or if they became enemies. It would be perfectly normal. In the beginning, she wanted to use this adopted son to consolidate her favor. In the imperial harem, this kind of thing didn't matter, and Li Hongyuan didn't care at all. However, imperial consort Su treated this adopted son wholeheartedly. He wasn't any worse than her own son, so she shouldn't do anything unnecessary. If it weren't for those one or two extra things, even if noble consort Su chose to support her own son in the end, Li Hongyuan probably wouldn't have done anything. He might even have helped Li Hongming, just like in his previous life before Li Hongyuan knew the truth. Vicious and merciless. He didn't recognize his own family. He was malicious and ruthless, and he treated human lives like grass. Most of the reason why Li Hongyuan became so terrifying was because of noble consort Su. Of course, all of this was because of his previous life. In this life, it naturally wouldn't affect him at all. Moreover, he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with his temperament. In this life, Li Hongyuan was committed to keeping his composure and even innocently provoking noble consort Su. He wasn't interested in doing it deliberately, but since it involved his wife, he was embarrassed and didn't hold back. How is Yuan Er's words different from consort mother's heart? Noble consort Su's face was pale. Her heart really hurt. Consort mother, please forgive me. As the saying goes, when a son travels 1,000 miles, consort mother worries. This son thought that after not seeing consort mother for so long, the first thing consort mother would do was show concern for this son's recent situation. But in reality, such an unpleasant thing happened. Although this son is no longer at the age where I can fool around with consort mother, this son is still unhappy. You actually gave this consort a chance to show concern. Everyone else looked at Li Hongyuan and had the same thought. Apart from Jingwan, the others weren't too sure if Li Hongyuan's actions were intentional or if he was just judging the matter as it was. After all, Li Hongyuan was noble consort Su's good son. That was obvious to all. Noble consort Su had been in this position for so many years, so she was very good at maintaining her composure. Although she was in pain, she still managed to maintain her composure. This is consort mother's fault, but isn't it also wrong for Yuan Er to hit the people around consort mother? This lowly servant offended her superiors. Don't tell me she doesn't deserve to be beaten. Li Hongyuan's eyes were practically saying, consort mother, where are your rules? Are you only listening to Lady Luo's side of the story and not believing consort mother's words? It was one thing that she couldn't repeat what had happened before, But she also felt indignant that her son didn't trust her. Li Hongyuan was silent for a moment, then looked steadily at noble consort Su. You are Urchin's consort mother. You raised a Ken. Lady Luo is Urchin's princess consort. She's someone who will accompany a Ken for countless years to come. Ken hopes that both of you can live well. I hope that both of you can get along harmoniously like mother and daughter. Lady Luo is gentle, kind, and good-tempered. Before she got married, she was also a filial girl. You've always treated Lady Luo well. Li Hongyuan's meaning couldn't be more obvious. If there was a problem between Lady Luo and Lady Luo, then it was Lady Luo's fault. Noble consort Su's lips trembled slightly, but she couldn't say a single word. Li Hongyuan's analysis was very reasonable. Lady Luo Jingwan was filial and a junior. You, noble consort Su, was an elder with even more respect. If you said that Jingwan disobeyed you, probably not many people would believe it. But noble consort Su didn't seem to have any reason to target Jingwan, right? Consort mother, a Ken knows that even saints have people they don't like. If Lady Luo isn't liked by you, then just let her enter the palace less in the future. Please don't lower yourself to her level. Li Hongyuan continued to poke at her. His words were exceptionally sincere. This reason didn't seem to be untenable. It really was a bit of a dilemma of being sandwiched between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Jingwan even applauded Li Hongyuan in her heart. Noble consort Su must be angered to death. This consort doesn't dislike her. That's naturally for the best. Then it's still the matter from before. Can Imperial Mother tell me what exactly happened? Tell her. How should she tell her? Lady Luo was also here. How could she distort the truth? Noble consort Su looked at Jingwan again. She really didn't have a good impression of her. She was just a little girl. She had a sharp tongue, was scheming, and was used to putting on an act. The relationship between mother and son was very good, but because of her, there was a conflict between mother and son. She didn't look like a vixen, but her methods were clearly not something 10 vixens could compare to. Jingwan looked scared and shrunk behind Li Hongyuan. Noble consort Su's gaze became even colder, but it just so happened that she met Li Hongyuan's eyes. Li Hongyuan's eyes had the words, as expected. Noble consort Su felt like she wouldn't be able to clear her name even if she jumped into a river. One moment she said she didn't, the next moment she slapped her own face. She covered her mouth and nose with a handkerchief and took 2 deep breaths. She really was muddle-headed from anger. Her emotions were exposed so easily. Since consort mother doesn't want her people to say it, then let Lady Luo's maidservants say it. Out of the 7 maidservants, only Qingju was left. When Li Hongyuan said this, she didn't have any scruples. Like pouring beans, she learned most of the previous matter. Even if noble consort Su sternly shouted at her to stop, she couldn't stop her. It made people feel that noble consort Su was guilty. Qingju's personality was more lively than the others, but it didn't mean that she was stupid. In her words, she weakened Jingwan and highlighted noble consort Su's strength and aggressiveness. As for whether that aunt fought with Jingwan, she said that she was kneeling with her head lowered and didn't see it. However, that aunt had physical contact with her Wangfei and acted like she was superior, not putting her Wangfei in her eyes. In the end, Qingju looked at Li Hongyuan with a confused expression. Your Highness, did Wangfei say something wrong? I don't think so. Why is noble consort Su so angry? Princess Rui is indeed noble consort Su's biological daughter-in-law, and Wangfei is only her adopted son's daughter-in-law. Is that why noble consort Su sent people to you instead of Prince Rui? Then she secretly glanced at Princess Lu. Prince Rui is several years older than you, but he doesn't have a son. Your Highness has been married for more than half a year. Why can't you get married if you don't have a son? After Jingwan was stabbed, Li Hongyuan did it. Now, even a maidservant came to stab noble consort Su and asked how many bloody holes there were on her body. Noble consort Su regretted. Although things were generally like this, a little deviation could lead to a completely different result. She didn't want her son to know it, but she still revealed it. It was better for her to take the initiative from the beginning. If she explained it now, it would most likely be regarded as sophistry. If she didn't say anything, it might be regarded as acquiescence. There was no way forward and no door back. Mother, Madame Luo has only been in the capital for more than a year. She used to live in Qi and Manor with Madame Luo. Madame Luo dotes on her very much and has never instilled any complicated things in her. Therefore she is innocent and says whatever she thinks. I believe that she has absolutely no intention of targeting you. Moreover, she really doesn't know anything about what happened in Jiangnan. If Imperial Mother wants to know something, there is no harm in asking Aken now. In any case, Imperial Father has other important matters to attend to right now. Aken hasn't reported what happened in Jiangnan yet. Or if Imperial Mother wants Aken to do something, there is still time. As Li Hongyuan spoke, he expressionlessly glanced sideways at Li Hongming. She could abandon her adopted son for the sake of her biological son. As an adopted son, he knew very well that even if she wanted to do something, he wouldn't complain, because she was his mother and she raised him. Noble consort Su looked at his expressionless face. This kind of expression was common when facing others, but in front of her, there was always a trace of gentleness and warmth. Now that it had disappeared without a trace, did this mean that she would be the same as the others? Noble consort Su was a little flustered. How could she be in the mood to care about Jing? She even unconsciously walked down from the main seat. Yuan it's not. She reached out to pull him. Li Hongyuan took a step back and avoided her. Mother, I'm afraid I won't stay here for long. Noble consort Su's heart ached to the extreme. It was completely different from the pain she felt before. Yuan listen to me, it's not. Mother. Li Hongming, who had been in the background, suddenly spoke. Noble consort Su looked over and saw the pleading in his eyes. Imperial consort Su knew that this matter was no small matter, especially after hearing from Jingwan about the huge amount of stolen money. Ming definitely wouldn't be clean. If Yuan could help, as long as the loss was smaller than the others, they would have an advantage. Now, it was just a matter of a word from her, but the current situation was like choosing between two sons. Noble consort Su looked at Li Hongyuan, her lips trembling, and her eyes unconsciously filled with guilt. Li Hongyuan laughed bitterly and suddenly reached out to cover his eyes. After a moment, he removed his hand, and all his emotions were gone. Mother, you don't have to be like this, and you don't have to say anything. I understand that you are my mother, and you will still be in the future. This will never change. Yuan Noble consort Su looked at Li Hongyuan. His eyes were clearly a little red. This son of hers had been a tyrant since he was young. When had he ever revealed such a weak and forbearing appearance? Her tears fell down. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654032. HTML Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken. Chapter 362. Yes, Your Highness. Jingwan replied timidly. As for her heart, it was a completely different matter. Even though noble consort Su was crying miserably, Jingwan's heart didn't waver in the slightest. It could be seen that she was becoming more and more cold-hearted. Alright, it was mainly because noble consort Su deserved it. She wanted everything and didn't want to leave behind any threats, so she couldn't blame others for finding out the truth and playing her for a fool. It was just karma. Jingwan felt that her acting skills were also improving. However, compared to her husband, she still paled in comparison. After all, if she were to switch roles with a certain someone, she would most likely be exposed. Thus, it was best to weaken herself as much as possible and use lowering her head to cover it up. When facing someone with a higher status than her, this wasn't a problem at all. Jingwan sighed the most in her heart. If she didn't know the inside story, she would have been completely fooled by a certain someone and thought that he was in extreme pain at this moment. Because he was hurt so badly, his heart became even more cold and hard to cover up the weakness in his heart. Clearly, many people thought so. Not only did noble consort Su think so, even Prince Rue, who was good at hiding things and liked to control people, thought so. Because of this, his opinion of Li Hongyuan had changed slightly. In the past, his mother had always been biased towards Li Hongyuan. Although it wasn't a big deal, it still made him feel a little indignant. Now it was completely balanced. Of course, he couldn't expect him to be in as much pain as noble consort Su. Li Hongyuan turned to leave, but paused and looked directly at the ant beside noble consort Su. Compared to before, his emotions were more exposed. Drag this old servant out and beat her to death. Don't make this prince say it a third time. Now that he directly killed her, it could be seen that he still had a problem with noble consort Su's actions. He couldn't have a problem with noble consort Su, so he naturally took his anger out on her. Jingwan only wanted to say that the living king of hell really had a lot of drama when he killed people for a reason. As noble consort Su's right-hand woman, many concubines had to respect her. She didn't need to do any hard work, and her food and clothes were top-notch. Compared to many madams and madams of officials, she was even better. In this kind of situation, would she want to die? Course not. Previously, she thought that she could escape this calamity, but she didn't expect it to be even worse now. After all, she had a slight chance of survival just a moment ago, but now she was definitely going to die. Her legs went limp, and she no longer had the prestige she usually had in front of the concubines, eunuchs, and palace maids. Your Highness, save me. Your Highness, save me. Your Highness, please save this servant. This aunt didn't dare to say things like kindness, because she knew that imperial concubine Su hated these things the most. The more she said, the faster she would die. Now that there was a gap between the mother and son, if she sacrificed her life to let the mother and son mend the rift, imperial concubine Su would absolutely not be reluctant. What's more, Jin Qinhuang had a legitimate reason. For an absolutely loyal and capable confidant, imperial concubine Su would definitely be reluctant to part with it, so she still wanted to save her. Yuanfer. Li Hongyuan looked at her with a trace of coldness. Mu Fei Aken and Luo Shi are husband and wife. As the saying goes, husband and wife are one. Her honor and glory represent urchin's honor and glory. An insignificant lowly servant dares to be rude to her. Now that Mu Fei wants to save her, does it mean that in Mu Fei's eyes, urchin's honor and glory are nothing more than this, and can be trampled on by anyone? Forget about third imperial brother, he's your son. In your heart, it's natural that he's more important than Aken. Now, even a lowly servant can climb over urchin's head. Speaking of which, the severity of this situation skyrocketed by countless levels. Imperial concubine Su received another blow. Her heart ached like it was being twisted. Her complexion was deathly pale, and she was on the verge of collapse. How can you honor say that? How can? A trace of heartache flashed across Li Hongyuan's face. He seemed to subconsciously reach out a hand to take a step forward, but then he stopped abruptly and withdrew his hand. His emotions were restrained, and his face was expressionless. Li Hongyuan expressed that this time he was heartbroken, truly heartbroken. He wouldn't easily forgive his Mu Fei. Imperial concubine Su saw this clearly. What are you standing there for? Drag her out and beat her to death, she said coldly to the eunuchs standing at the door. The eunuchs who were still hesitating trembled all over. They didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly stepped forward. In the face of their aunt, who used to be high and mighty and bossy, a strange sense of superiority grew in them. No matter what happened in the past, she was still going to die in their hands now. Therefore, they became even more ruthless when they beat her. Imperial concubine, imperial concubine. That aunt probably never thought that it would be her master who gave the order in the end. While she was in despair, endless hatred also grew in her. Thinking about it, she could do anything for her master, but in the end she ended up like this. How could she not have any negative feelings? Imperial concubine Su also saw this, but at this time she looked away. Shut their mouths. She was very clear that after today, her subordinates would be somewhat affected. After all, as her confidants, it was hard for others not to think that they would end up like this. Then she looked at Li Hongyuan as if to say, Are you satisfied? Satisfied. Haha, even if all the people around Imperial concubine Su died, as long as they didn't provoke him, it wouldn't have anything to do with him. There's one more thing that Mu Fei should know. If any random lowly servant could give birth to an heir for this son, then this son wouldn't be without a son or a daughter today. It seems that Mu Fei has forgotten some of the words this son once said. Li Hongyuan lowered his eyes. This son will take his leave. This time he left quite straightforwardly. Jingwan crouched down and also left, followed by Qing Ju. Li Hongyuan was protecting his wife's chastity, and in order to save some trouble, there seemed to be countless beautiful women around him, but they were all people of low status. Naturally, he had an excuse that his son's birth mother's background couldn't be too low, so no one suspected anything. Now that you mention it again as a Mu Fei, you really don't care. Your son is sad again. After leaving the Jade Essence Palace, Li Hongyuan's body was still emitting cold air, making people who saw him from afar quickly avoid him. The eunuchs who were preparing to send Jingwan out of the palace only dared to follow behind, not daring to go forward. After walking for a while, Jingwan and Li Hongyuan were about to part ways. Prince! Jingwan, who was 2 steps behind, finally called out to him. Li Hongyuan came back to his senses and looked at her. He didn't say anything, but his eyes softened. Jingwan almost laughed out loud. He really was the most meticulous. However, Imperial Consort Su had been ruthlessly tricked again. Now, many people had seen her appearance at this moment. It would be strange if there weren't any strange associations. What's more, Imperial Consort Su's right-hand man had been beaten to death. Who would believe that there wasn't something fishy going on? Imperial Consort Su's image as a good mother-in-law was in danger. Jingwan knew that this man did it on purpose, but Imperial Consort Su didn't think so. It must be that her son was too sad, so he didn't notice. However, Jingwan wouldn't be so lucky. Imperial Consort Su would definitely think that she was deliberately going against her. But now, her son was obviously on her daughter-in-law's side. So, even if she was angry, Imperial Consort Su had nowhere to vent her anger. After a long time she might get sick from holding it in. Thinking about it, it was obvious that the palace was going to be lively for a while. Wang Yi, Chia's appearance is not proper, so Chia cannot go to Sweet Dew Palace to pay respects to Imperial Consort Shu. I will have to trouble you to send someone to say that Chia will apologize to her in the future. Li Hongyuan slightly frowned. His gaze fell on the bloodstains on Jingwan's body. No matter how he looked, he still felt that it was dazzling. Understood. He turned and left. This acting, Jingwan didn't know how many times she had sighed in admiration. Seeing Jin Qin Wang Fei beckoning, the eunuch carrying the palanquin was finally relieved of a burden. He quickly stepped forward and steadily sent Jingwan out of the palace. When Jingwan got on the Wang Fu's carriage, she didn't carry the palanquin. She tilted her body and allowed the Qingju to use the warm water in the carriage to wipe the blood off her hands. To tell the truth, her own husband's arrival at the Jade Essence Palace was too coincidental. Lu Chengdi suddenly had something important to do, so he went to the Jade Essence Palace first, and then a series of unpleasant things happened. Jingwan felt that the possibility of that important matter was arranged by her own husband was quite high. Thinking of this, her heart felt warm. Although she was not afraid of facing Imperial Consort Su, But to be worried and worried, fearing that she would suffer, that kind of feeling was quite good. As for the situation in the Jade Essence Palace now, Jingwan didn't have the mind to think about it. Returning to the Wang Fu, Jingwan first went to see Fu Rong. The wound on her face had been treated. Because it was wrapped up, she couldn't see the specific situation. Jingwan looked at Fu Rong and didn't know what to say. For Fu Rong, this was simply an unexpected disaster. Fu Rong didn't care much and instead comforted Jing. Wang Fei, don't worry, newbie is fine really. Anyway, newbie doesn't plan to marry in this life. My face is injured, don't mind it. Without this face maybe it can save some trouble. It wasn't strange that Fu Rong didn't want to marry. After all, there was that kind of past. However, in the whole capital, only our Wang Ye can find trouble with others. Even the emperor often retreats. As a person of Jin Qin Wang Fu, even if you temporarily avoid outside, there's no reason to hurt yourself. This kind of stupid thing, don't do it again in the future. Fu Rong was slightly surprised, and then nodded with a chuckle. The feeling of being protected was really good. Even if her face was injured and disfigured, Fu Rong also felt that it was very good now. Later, Jingwan looked for Gong Jiu and asked him to do his best to reduce the scars on Fu Rong's face. Gong Jiu promised to do his best. Jingwan then went to bathe and change clothes. She changed into relatively light clothes and came back much earlier than expected. Under normal circumstances, Lu Chengdi and Imperial concubine Su would stay for lunch. Now, it was unknown whether Imperial concubine Su could eat. It was also unknown whether Li Hongyuan would come back for lunch, but Jingwan was not worried. She went back and began to prepare the things for tomorrow's visit to her maternal family, and the things for great elder Princess Fu. These two places were bound to be visited. As for the others, she couldn't visit the older sisters and younger sisters she knew before she got married because of her identity. But she still had to send the things. After a few days, she could send an invitation to them to visit the Wangfu. Of course, there were other Wangfu, not only her husband's brothers, but also the relatives of the imperial family, and even the princes and princesses who were still in the palace. Her maternal uncle's family was now rooted in the capital, so it couldn't be left out. There were a lot of things to send. In this way, the things she bought in Jiangnan were not particularly many. Jingwan didn't think about sending the things to the princes and princesses in the palace herself. In this area, Gong Mama was more familiar with it than she was. She didn't need to worry at all and could do it properly. An hour later, Imperial concubine Su sent people to deliver things. In addition to the hair ornaments she tore off and threw in the Jade Palace, there were other things. It was said that Jin Qin Wang Fei gave Imperial concubine Nyang something good. Imperial concubine Nyang was very happy. These were all rewarded by Imperial concubine Nyang. After the people left, Jingwan smiled playfully. Imperial concubine Su was angered to death and still wanted to bleed. She had to suffer this loss. But she thought that Imperial concubine Su would destroy her own ruby hair ornaments to vent her anger. Now that she saw that they were intact, she was a little surprised. Put them with the others and put them away. I won't use them in the future. She had a super rich husband, and her own private fortune was in the tens of millions. Jingwan was now so rich that she felt no pressure at all. She was about to treat money like dirt. Near noon, Mu Gonggong returned to the Fu. The living king of hell was indeed kept by Lu Chengdi. But according to Mu Gonggong's words, it seemed that the official business had been finished earlier than expected. Lu Chengdi lost his temper and smashed the things on the imperial table until there was nothing left. Li Hongyuan rarely comforted Lu Chengdi with a few words. For Lu Chengdi this was very rare. After all, he had always been angered by this son of his. His heart suddenly felt a lot better. Then, unknowingly, he talked about the imperial concubine. He didn't know if it was because Jin Qinhuang was hurt by his adoptive mother, but when he talked about his biological mother, he was especially silent. Even if Lu Chengdi wholeheartedly recalled his beloved woman, he still found out that his son was wrong. As the father, he naturally had to care. After all, this was born from the woman who loved him. It was the crystallization of their love. As a result, Li Hongyuan was indifferent and perfunctory. Although Lu Qingdi wasn't a person with a high IQ, most of them were still intelligent. He didn't ask much. In any case, this son wasn't like this when he first entered the palace. He must have encountered something in the palace. Later he would ask someone to investigate and he would know. Jingwan naturally didn't object to her own husband and his Fu Huang putting on a show of fatherly love and filial piety. As for whether that scene was a scene of father-son affection or whether Li Hongyuan intentionally or unintentionally made Lu Qingdi upset, it had even less to do with her. In the afternoon, Jingwan began to send out gifts. Cart after cart was pulled out according to the order of their status and sent out the gifts together. For the entire afternoon, the entire street outside Jin Wangfu was unusually lively. In the neighboring residences, many servants and even masters came out to watch the bustle. Speaking of which, many people knew that Jin Wangfu was rich. But in the past, no matter which family did something, he would always give the same gifts as everyone else. It wouldn't be too thick or too thin. This time it was definitely the first time that he had spent so much. Perhaps some people would have a conspiracy theory, but there were even more people who thought that Jin Wangfu had a female master. This kind of social interaction was naturally more meticulous and considerate. Moreover, everyone knew that Jin Wangfu had bought a lot of things back from Zhongnan, so it was natural for them to send out gifts. When Li Hongyuan left the palace, he just happened to see the things that were going to be sent to the princes and princesses. He casually asked for the list of gifts to take a look. Although it might not be worth mentioning in Li Hongyuan's eyes, it was actually quite generous. He casually flipped through a few lists. Although the things were different, the value was almost the same. Li Hongyuan was very sure that these things would make people satisfied, but at the same time, they would also offend some people. Thinking about it, in the inner palace, everyone's favoritism was different and the treatment they received would certainly be different. Think about it. Those who were favored, when they found out that their things were the same as those who weren't favored, how could their hearts be balanced? However, because they were all good things, even in the palace, they might not be able to see them often. Thus they wouldn't be willing to smash it, wouldn't be willing to throw it away. They would use it without any psychological pressure, but their hearts would be filled with resentment. And those who weren't favored should be grateful to their wives. Otherwise they might be able to get some good things when they got married. These things, how could his own wife not think of it? Li Hongyuan believed that she definitely knew, but it was obviously better to treat everyone equally. Moreover, even if some people were unhappy, they could only hold it in their hearts. They couldn't say anything and couldn't do anything. Complaining to the living king of hell, was it asking for a beating or asking for a beating? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654039. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken. Chapter 363. When Li Hongyuan returned to the residence, Jingwan was still busy. "You're back." Jingwan looked up at him with a gentle smile, but she did not get up. If husband and wife were still so polite in private, they probably could not be called husband and wife. Li Hongyuan acknowledged and sat down beside Jingwan. He wrapped his arms around her waist naturally and kissed her on the cheek. He looked at the boxes of various sizes at the side. There was a faint smell of sandalwood. He reached out and opened one of them. "You brought it back." Inside was a string of Bodhi Buddha beads. These Bodhi Buddha beads were received in Chongzhou Prefecture and were actually given by Pei Xiuying. Based on the Pei family's background, it was not surprising that they were able to produce them. Pei Xiuying was a talented woman and had a deep understanding of Buddhism. When she chose to give the Bodhi Buddha beads, it was considered a different approach. Unfortunately, no matter what she thought or what she wanted to do, it was completely destroyed before it could be carried out. Even she was implicated. Therefore, sometimes too much scheming was useless. Although the meaning of these Buddha beads had changed because of other people's interests, one could not completely deny their value. It was not easy to obtain so many different and high-quality Bodhi Buddha beads. It was really not worth it if they were destroyed because of some small reason. Moreover, Jingwen still did not know the origin of these Bodhi Buddha beads. She did not know at that time. After leaving Chongzhou Prefecture and sending the Buddha beads to White Dragon Temple for consecration, she had completely forgotten about it. Now, she was completely uninterested in pursuing the matter. I originally planned to send them directly to Great Master Liaochen. Fortunately, he is indeed at White Dragon Temple. The 1080 star moon Bodhi beads are most suitable for Great Master Liaochen. After all, it is really too long for ordinary people. It should be given to Great Master Liaochen. The rest are placed in front of Buddha and recited sutras for 49 days. It is very suitable for Great Master Buddha beads. I plan to give 108 small Vajra Bodhi beads to grandmother. Grandfather, please bear with it for a while. 54 wood seed beads will do. Since the person who gave these Bodhi beads has already taken out so many, why didn't he give us some more? We don't even have enough to share now. Jingwen felt that the other party was stingy. Li Hongyuan nodded solemnly in agreement. Both of them had ignored the slight astonishment they had felt when they first saw these Buddhist prayer beads. They even seemed to have sighed at each other's work. Was this considered as taking advantage of the situation? No, because if Li Hongyuan wanted these things, he could get them with his own means, but that would be meaningless. After all, it didn't look like gold, silver, or jewelry. It was enough for the person she liked to have a bunch of them. As for the rest, there were 8 Taiyang beads, 21 Yueyang beads, 14 Jinchanzi beads, 10 Wuyan Lutong beads, 12 Mongguan beads, 27 lotus seat beads, 27 white jade beads, and 54 Qilan eyes beads. Jingwen had reserved one for each of her parents, and one for each of her grandparents. Even if people didn't like Buddhist prayer beads, with Master Liaochen's blessing, no one would refuse. In the end, after some thought, she prepared a white jade Bodhi bead for her sister-in-law. Looking at so many, there were only 2 or 3 left. It didn't seem like it would be good to share them. In reality, there was still the palace, but Jingwen hadn't thought about them from the beginning. Give them all to your grandmother. Let her decide how to deal with them, Li Hongyuan suggested. It was clear that he hadn't thought about the people who were related to him by blood. Jingwen nodded. That's not a bad idea. By the way, how's the Zhongnan matter? Who needs to be dealt with? Everything is as expected. Imperial Father cares a lot about his reputation and doesn't want to leave such a huge corruption case as a stain in his later years. However, it's still a serious matter. Although the matter won't be completely exposed, he should still summon some of his trusted old officials to see who needs to be dealt with and who can be let off for the time being. However, these have nothing to do with us. I've already told them to deal with those that need to be dealt with. Then about noble consort Su's request. As for Li Hongming, I did help him cover up some of it. However, I want him to give me 10 times, 100 times, the amount that he recovered from Imperial Father. In any case, because of his relationship with Imperial Mother, I'm sad and angry. Isn't it natural to vent my anger on him? Noble consort Su wouldn't say a word, so Li Hongming could only pinch his nose and admit it. After all, compared to revealing everything to Imperial Father, his loss would only be greater. However, after taking out this sum of money, he should be short on money. If he didn't want to look too bad, he should take out the dowry of his Wangfei and concubine to supplement it. Also, that good Imperial Mother of his would definitely help him. Although noble consort Su has boundless glory and a respected status in the harem, and her own private treasury seems to be very rich, many of those things are bestowed by the emperor. All of them are registered and can't be used easily. What she can supplement is limited. After that, the high and mighty imperial noble consort will also be short on money. If this matter is revealed, her face will be stripped off by the other women in the harem. Jingwan's expression was a bit subtle. Did you expect all of this? Or did you deliberately plan it? I didn't plan it. It's completely natural that noble consort Su would do this. As long as she added fuel to the fire a little bit, this kind of situation would occur. The only difference is whether the initiative is in my hands or hers. Obviously, the initiative is in my hands, Li Hongyuan said with a smile. It's all Wan's credit. Look, he completely had the pearl of wisdom in his hands, and the person he had schemed against still didn't know. One was still endlessly hurt, and the other didn't know that she was about to bleed a lot. If she knew, what kind of expression would she have? It would be hard to imagine that level of excitement if one wasn't present. Jingwan inexplicably felt a bit of anticipation. So Wang Yi also schemed against this concubine. Jingwan pretended to be angry. Li Hongyuan moved closer and intimately rubbed against Jingwan. It's all this husband's fault. Wife can punish me as you wish. Jingwan glared at him angrily. This man, he couldn't be serious for more than 3 seconds. Sometimes it really made people want to beat him to death. Li Hongyuan didn't move at all. His lips hooked up in a bewitching smile. Or Wan, do you have anything else to say? This was obviously a meaningful question. Jingwan was currently being harassed by him, so she didn't think too much. She just reached out to push him away, trying to make him move a little further away. Li Hongyuan's eyes narrowed slightly. Some kind of emotion condensed in the depths of his eyes. Although it wasn't obvious on the surface, he was really quite unhappy at this moment. Today in the Jade Essence Palace, he had clearly mentioned his former woman, but his wife didn't say anything. In someone's opinion, his wife didn't care about his past. Normal people couldn't wait to cover up this kind of dark history. If the person they cared about didn't pursue it, they would only feel lucky. However, Li Hongyuan wasn't a normal person. He was a psychopath. He had peeped at his wife for a long time. In contrast, the more possessive and caring he was about Jingwan, the more possessive and caring Jingwan was about him. If she didn't investigate his past, it meant that she didn't care. It was absolutely intolerable. Have nothing to say. Go away, go away. Can't you see that I'm busy? As soon as these words came out, Li Hongyuan's eyes became even darker. He took away the things in Jingwan's hands, threw them aside, and carried her horizontally. His wife's awareness was still not enough. He had to train her fiercely until she would immediately erect a line of defense at the slightest sign of trouble. All the signs had to be extinguished. It would be best if someone looked at her too much, and his wife would go berserk and gouge out that person's eyes. Only then would it be perfect. Jingwan struggled. She was about to say, "What's wrong with you again?" When she met his eyes, she thought, "Oh my God, he's really crazy." And looking at the situation, this psychopath has already reached the level of abnormal. Jingwan knew that once this person had a relapse, there was no way to reason with him. The best way was to appease him. However, to appease him, she had to find the cause first. Jingwan said that she didn't know at all. Jingwan was thrown onto the bed by a certain someone, and her clothes were torn apart in no time. Jingwan only wanted to scream for help. She was very doubtful. Would she be able to wake up tomorrow and return to her parents' home? Although Jingwan wasn't injured, a certain bastard really did it very ruthlessly. Not only did she feel that her body was hollowed out, even her soul seemed to have been squeezed dry. Jingwan suspected that a certain someone had long surpassed the scope of human beings. He wasn't human, he wasn't human. She couldn't even move a finger, and her mind was blank. It was almost winter, and she felt like she had been fished out of the water. She was really going to become a cripple. Even so, Jingwan's body couldn't help but tremble slightly. It was because this psychopath had upgraded to a snake demon. He was sticking to her body, caressing inch by inch, using his fingertips and the tip of his tongue. That kind of feeling was really like some kind of cold-blooded animal swimming over her body. Unfortunately, this body was too weak and too sensitive. Li Hongyuan's lips finally landed on Jingwan's earlobe. Gently, his breath was warm, and Jingwan couldn't help but shudder. Li Hongyuan chuckled softly. The pure bewitchment in the past was now mixed with a little danger. Wan, do you know your mistake now? I know. Jingwan's voice was very hoarse, and she was weak. Her consciousness was still a little scattered. The only remaining thought was probably, as long as you don't torture me, I'll do anything. What did you do wrong? Li Hongyuan continued to ask. How could he let it go so easily? Jingwan paused. It took her 2 beats to realize what Li Hongyuan was talking about. I don't know. She really didn't know. Her current state was completely not conducive to thinking. Moreover, if she made a messy guess, this bastard might continue to use it as a pretext to make a fuss. I don't know. Li Hongyuan dragged the last syllable for a long time. Goosebumps were about to rise. Please, why did her illness take so long this time? Wake up quickly. My good heart, you don't know what mistake you made, but you admit it so straightforwardly. Then won't you make the same mistake in the future? Your husband will be very unhappy. Then can you give me a hint? There are some things that Wan needs to be aware of for it to be deep enough and not make the same mistake again in the future. So Wan needs to think about it herself. Think slowly. In any case, we have a lot of time. If 2 Shurchen isn't enough, then 6 Shurchen. If 6 Shurchen isn't enough, then 3 Shurchen. If 3 Shurchen isn't enough, then 3 Shurchen. If 3 Shurchen isn't enough, then 3 Shurchen. If 3 Shurchen isn't enough, then 3 Shurchen, then 3 Shurchen. If 3 Shurchen isn't enough, then 3 Shurchen, then 3 Shurchen. If 3 Shurchen isn't enough, then your husband can't help but suspect that Wan isn't enjoying the pleasures of fish and water like today. Jingwan wanted to cry but had no tears. What kind of hatred and resentment was there that he would remember it for 30 years? Was she enjoying it, or was this bastard using it as a pretext to make a fuss? It was clearly his expectation that she didn't know. That's enough for you. It's uncomfortable, I want to take a bath. Jingwan didn't want to be entangled on this issue now. Your husband feels that it's not bad right now. As he spoke, he licked his lips again. Jingwan had already discovered that a certain person was a bit of a clean freak. But at this time, this kind of clean freak was actually cured without any medicine. Hungry, Jin Qinwang wants to starve his Wangfei to death and marry a new love? Without a new love, if Wan really starves to death, this husband will accompany you. That would be too unsightly. If a Qinwang's Wangfei were to starve to death, that would be the scandal of the entire Li imperial clan, and even the entire Qi Yuan. Seems reasonable. Being known as the wealthiest Qinwang in the imperial clan, how could he starve his Wangfei? Finally, with great compassion, he let people prepare water and then carried his wife to take a bath. He truly served his wife the entire time. Jingwan was lazy. It was Li Hongyuan who kissed her until she was full bit by bit. Jingwan was hungry and didn't have any strength. She couldn't be bothered to haggle over the way he fed her. Fortunately, a certain person didn't go too far. After eating and drinking her fill, she, who had always been devoted to nourishing her body, didn't wait for the food to digest and directly went to sleep. After that, until she woke up the next day, she slept very well. Not only did she not have any dreams, she even turned over a little. Because she wasn't injured when she woke up, she had regained her strength and energy. Jingwen sat on the edge of the bed and stretched lazily without caring about her image. Suddenly, an arm wrapped around her waist, and then she felt a few gentle touches on her back. After that, a heavy head rested on Jingwan's shoulder. With Wan's physique, it's not easy to make you unable to get out of bed for 3 days. A lazy laugh sounded and a low teasing voice. Jingwan pulled his arm away and got up abruptly. She didn't even put on her shoes and hurriedly took a few steps away. Li Hongyuan didn't say anything. Wan, you should think carefully about what you did wrong. Jingwan was annoyed. She grabbed a piece of clothing and turned around to walk over. Li Hongyuan even deliberately raised his head and let the clothing fall on his face. Jingwan also saw clearly what it was. It was a doo-doo or something, and she still couldn't help but blush. Li Hongyuan took a few breaths before reaching out to grab it. He smiled at Jingwan and said, "It smells good." Jingwan instinctively knew that he was talking about her and not the clothes. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654043. HTML. Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile edition website. Bicken. Chapter 364. Why was she blushing? She was shameless. She also ignored the large discoloration on some parts of her body. Come here. Jingwan was naked at this moment. Since they got married, Nanny Gong and Jingwan's wet nurse would enter the room first in the morning. Other maids would not enter the room until they were cleaned up. Moreover, Jingwan grew up naked in the eyes of her wet nurse. Even if she was an adult, she had no shame in front of them. However, Li Hongyuan still couldn't help but feel gloomy when his wife was seen naked by others. Therefore, when Nanny Gong came in, she received the malice of Li Hongyuan, which was like the Grim Reaper. Nanny Gong had been used to this kind of thing. She didn't even frown. If you have the ability, you can help your wife dress, bathe, and take care of her. If you can't, you should shut up. Among all the servants and subordinates, Nanny Gong was probably the one who was least afraid of Li Hongyuan. Although Jingwan had already put on her clothes, there were no marks on her arms and back. Nanny Gong couldn't help frowning and looked at Li Hongyuan with a disapproving look. For the king of hell, whose flesh was all on his face, it was not painful at all. A thin quilt covered Li Hongyuan's body, leaving only his arms above his head and below his calves exposed. He turned sideways, supported his head with one hand, and looked faintly at Jingwan, who was wrapped up more and more tightly. On such a day, she couldn't just wear a doo-doo and panties for her morning exercise. Speaking of which, Jingwan's body was miserable, and his body was not much better. Who said that only he could leave kiss marks on her body? Although Jingwan had bitten a lot less, she couldn't help but use her teeth. Her nails weren't very long, but they were still very lethal. Forget about the hickeys. As for the lighter ones, they were probably teeth marks that would disappear very quickly, or the nails would leave a faint white mark. The more serious ones were clear teeth marks that were purplish and bleeding, or long scratches where the skin was gone. Did they really think that Jingwan didn't have a temper and didn't know how to fight back after being bullied? Unfortunately for Li Hongyuan, this little bit of pain couldn't stop his violence. Instead, it had an aphrodisiac effect. So, in the end, the sad ones are still our Wan. After tidying up, Jingwan's black hair was temporarily braided into a hemp flower braid in front of her chest. She walked to the bed and sat down. Looking at a certain someone who still did not want to get up, she used the tip of her hair to sweep the tip of his nose. "Ah Yuan, do you want to go to the Luo residence with me today?" Li Hongyuan held Jingwan's hand and lay back down. "Go, why not? Isn't it natural for him to accompany his wife back to her parents' home? Then hurry up and get up and exercise. Let me tell you, if your figure is out of shape, be careful that I'll kick you out of the house." Jingwan smiled a little dangerously and patted his abdomen. "It turns out that Wan only likes my husband's body and doesn't like my person. I'm so sad." Li Hongyuan snuggled into Jingwan's arms. Jingwan's fingers sank into his hair. "You have such a bad temper. Naturally, you're not as likable as this body." Li Hongyuan looked up at her. If this body contained a person like Li Hongming, would you still like it? Jingwan's eyes flashed with disgust. If she really married a person like Li Hongming, she would rather hide away, eat vegetarian and pray to Buddha, and be an otherworldly expert, regardless of how perfect the body was. Looking at Li Hongyuan again, apart from this body, she also felt that he was good in every way. Suddenly, she lowered her head and kissed him fiercely. Sure enough, I still like a Yuan the most. It doesn't matter if he's useless, as long as he's good to me, that's enough. Even if he was a perverted lunatic, she would not feel any pressure to accept him. Li Hongyuan clicked his tongue softly. She was obviously a little jealous woman, a little vinegar jar. Why couldn't she be more thorough? Li Hongyuan got up. Remember to reflect on your own mistakes. Your husband's patience is limited, so the time I give you is also limited. She was moved for less than 3 seconds. Could she still be tired of it? Morning exercise, then bathing, then breakfast. Everything seemed to be done step by step, but everything seemed to be different. However, there was warmth everywhere. After breakfast, Li Hongyuan went to the study for a while. Maybe there were some follow-up issues that had not been dealt with, or maybe there were other important matters. Little sister, hey, what's wrong? I saw that you were a little absent-minded this morning. Jingwan looked at little sister Hei, a little curious. Little sister Hei used to feel inferior because of Hei Cho, but later, Jingwan removed the factor of inferiority. In essence, she was a very straightforward girl, and when she did things, she was very focused. Basically, there was no time to see negative emotions on her face, so at this moment, Jingwan was inevitably puzzled. Little sister Hei couldn't hide things in her heart, even if it was something difficult to talk about. Speaking of it, it was because of what happened in the Jade Palace yesterday. In order to resist imperial concubine Su, Fu Rong didn't hesitate to scratch her face. She was also very surprised at that time, but although she didn't do anything, she could guarantee that she absolutely didn't have any thoughts about the prince. To be honest, the prince was gentle and considerate in front of the princess, and was a very good husband. In front of them, there was a bit of the King of Hell's true colors, and it was too late to hide. If such a person could fall in love with, then there was definitely something wrong with the brain. Needless to say, even Jingwan's several maidservants felt that they were quite normal. Jingwan laughed. I thought it was something serious, but it's nothing. I know what you are thinking. What you don't do, and what Fu Rong does, the essence is the same. It's just that your temperament is different, and the things you experience are different. You know that I will solve the problem, and Fu Rong prefers to solve it in her own way, that's all. So don't think too much about it. When I was in Jiangnan, I was still thinking about it. You are about the same age. After returning to the capital, I will start to find a husband for you. After a few days, things will be smooth, and this matter will be put on the agenda. This time, it wasn't only little sister Hei who blushed, the other maidservants were the same. They all muttered that they didn't want to marry. When the age comes, naturally, it's time to marry. Who doesn't want to marry? You don't have to be reluctant to part with this princess. Even if you marry, you still have to stay in the prince's mansion. Jingwan said with a bit of banter. If there is someone you like, remember to tell me in advance. Otherwise, when the time comes, if the matchmaking is wrong, don't cry. Jingwan's soul was an adult more than 10 years ago. She had been married for more than half a year. No matter how thin her skin was, it was thick-skinned. Jingwan teased the maidservants until their faces turned red, and her body and mind were very comfortable. About another hour later, they finished packing and went out. However, they happened to meet people from the palace. However, Li Hongyuan didn't even see them and sent them away. Whether they were sent by Emperor Lu Chengdi or imperial concubine Su, in short, they all had a reason. He said he didn't want to see them, and he was so capricious. If others dared to do so, they would try it. Their clothes were more casual, and they didn't use the prince's honor. However, because they brought a lot of things according to the carriage, the whole group was quite spectacular. Today, except for the minister of the Ministry of Personnel, who entered the palace, the rest of the Luo family were all at home, including the married aunts. No matter if they were the same generation as Jingwan or the previous generation, except for themselves, their husbands and children, they brought all that they could bring back. Of course, there was also Jingwan's maternal family. Those who didn't know would think that there was a big matter in the Luo family. In fact, Jingwan returning to her maternal family was indeed a big matter for them. Jingwan's status rose, and as the closest relative of the Luo family, they naturally paid attention to her. After all, under normal circumstances, they couldn't see Prince Consort Jean. There were only Luo family members waiting at the gate of the Luo family, and the number was not small. In these 2 years, there were no more children of the same generation as Jingwan, but in the younger generation, eldest cousin's son could already walk, and her third brother's daughter could occasionally call her mother. At this moment, Jingwan only felt that time really passed too quickly. However, they were at the gate after all, and the rules still needed to be followed. Seeing the elders greet each other, Jingwan was still slightly uncomfortable. Entering the gate, Li Hongyuan was at the front, and Jingwan supported old Madame Luo as they walked behind. Everyone else followed in an orderly manner. At this time they didn't say anything, but their eyes were enough to show how much they missed each other. It was just that old Madame Luo's eyes were mixed with gratification, because this granddaughter of hers looked quite good. Her complexion was not worse than when she was in the boudoir, and in some aspects she was even better. Old Madame Luo was satisfied, and some things could be verified again. They went directly to the main courtyard. In the spacious main hall, everyone sat down. Soon the outsiders who came to the Luo family also gathered together and greeted the two people sitting at the head of the table. Li Hongyuan was used to this kind of thing, and Jingwan also needed some time to get used to it, but at the moment it looked good. At least on the surface there were no problems. Li Hongyuan also knew that with him around, these women couldn't talk properly. Although he was unwilling, he still led the men of the Luo family away. Once the living Hell King left, the atmosphere immediately livened up, although because of Jingwan's current status, it naturally couldn't be compared to before she got married. On the other hand, old Madame Luo treated Jingwan as usual, and only then did she carefully look at her. This girl that she had raised in the palm of her hand was really good, and didn't look forced at all. "Princess, the things that you brought should be sent directly to each room or what?" Mama Gong spoke at the right time. "Send directly to each room. There may be a little too many things. Eldest aunt, third aunt, fourth aunt, you all can ask someone to help." Jingwan smiled. Without waiting for them to speak, it was Jingwan's maternal grandmother who stood up first. "We'll also go and join in the fun." At this time, those who were tactful should know to make room. Jean Qin Wang Fei had always been raised in front of grandmother, and her biological mother was also present, so at this time, they should naturally give it to them. "Good daughter, let's also go and join in the fun. See what good things your aunt has brought for you." Sun Yijia held her daughter and winked at Jingwan. Thus, the room was quickly left with only Jingwan, old Madame Luo, and Zhongshi, the three masters. There were no outsiders, so Jingwan directly, unruly leaned on old Madame Luo. "Grandmother, I really missed you." Old Madame Luo was slightly startled. No matter what, perhaps it was because of her health, Jingwan had always taken care of her. Even if old Madame Luo deliberately did it, Jingwan rarely acted spoiled. If it was still the same as before, even if they met, this granddaughter of hers probably wouldn't be so spoiled. This child was too rational, and most of the time she was thinking for others. She had always strived to let this granddaughter be like an ordinary girl, able to be carefree and happy in front of the elders. Unfortunately, it didn't happen until she got married. Everyone knew that once a girl got married, she would be even less spoiled, and their focus would no longer be on themselves. Who would have thought that this granddaughter of hers would be the complete opposite? After half a year of marriage, she would naturally take the initiative to act spoiled. She had grown a lot, but became more and more delicate. Those who weren't familiar with Jingwan or those who had always been by her side wouldn't be aware of this change, but old Madame Luo's feeling was unusually obvious. She sighed in her heart and felt even more gratified. It could only be said that Jin Qin held her in the palm of his hand and really let her be carefree. There was nothing for her to worry about, and he didn't do anything to hurt her. It was him who completely supported her, and that was why she was like this. A woman who lived well in her maternal family and lived even better in her husband's family. If it could continue, then it was indeed a blessing. Old Madame Luo stroked Jingwan's head. Her granddaughter was a good child, and no matter how many blessings there were, it was worth it and deserved. Because Jingwan married at least a year earlier than expected at that time, she still had some opinions about Jin Qinhuang in her heart. Now all of her opinions were gone. As long as he was good to her granddaughter, she could treat him as her own grandson. Zhangshi stood at the side, her heart somewhat sour. She wasn't a competent mother and missed too much in the past. Now, she couldn't be as intimate with her daughter as she was with her grandmother. However, this was also something that couldn't be helped. The only thing she could do now was to not let the relationship become more estranged. Jingwan snuggled in old Madame Luo's arms for a while before she sat up straight again. At this time, she was a little late to realize it. Her face showed a little embarrassment, and she couldn't help but complain a few words about Li Hongyuan. It was all that bastard's fault. Because she was used to it and met the closest elder. Wasn't this? Old Madame Luo just smiled and didn't point it out. Like this, it was obvious, so there was no need to ask whether it was a good thing or not. Jingwan looked at Zhangshi and smiled. "Nyang, are you well?" "Good, good," Zhangshi quickly responded. "The matters of the second household are all taken care of by your sister-in-law. There's nothing else to worry about. I can't be more idle. When I have nothing to do, I will tease Xian Jia. Naturally, it's very good." Jingwan became a Qin Wang Fei. The yin-yangs of the second household all knew that Jingwan didn't like concubines. They became more low-key and honest, to the point that they completely avoided the Luo Rongyan. As time passed, they might even forget about the existence of concubines. In this way, naturally, there wouldn't be any trouble. This was the true harmony between wife and concubines. Jingwan roughly knew the situation inside. As long as they were sensible, she would return the favor. As long as they were well-behaved, the two Shu sisters and that Shu brother wouldn't let them be too bad in the future. That's good. What about you? Is Jiangnan fun? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6654049. HTML. Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile edition reading website. Bicken.com. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.